Hey guys, what is going on? I hope you all are doing well today. Elliot here. Welcome back to the Fragrance Well. So for today, got a simple video. We're gonna rank my 12 Amouage fragrances. Amouage, very popular Middle Eastern house, really has gained popularity here in the States. It's in a lot of shopping centers, mostly like Neiman Marcus and some Bloomingdale's. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point, if not already, they may end up in Dillard's, maybe even Macy's. They just have that kind of popularity. The popularity of them in the fragrance community is certainly no secret. It has their top ones, it has their ones that are more challenging, etc., etc. Many people, new to the community want to learn about Amouage fragrances. So that's why we're going to talk about it in this video. And also, this is my most owned fragrance house at this current time. So I figured why not just go ahead and do a ranked list. So let's go ahead and get into the video, but before we get started, as always, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you do like this content, and please hit the bell icon, enable notifications so you can be notified when I upload new videos. Let's get into it. Alright, so once again, we are ranking my 12 Amouage fragrances. Let me just go ahead and put this out there. None of these are bad in my opinion. All the Amouages I have, I really like. So it was kind of tough to put this list together, but if you gotta rank them, you gotta put them somewhere. So we're gonna go from 12 all the way to 1. Starting at the 12th spot, this is Interlude Black Iris. Interlude Black Iris. So really the only reason that I put this in the 12th spot is because this is a flanker to the very popular Blue Beast Amouage Interlude, and it's a good one. I don't have any problems with it, but me personally, I do think owning both is kind of redundant unless you're just, a big time collector like me or a fragrance content creator. For most people, particularly in this day and age, get your nose on both. Pick one if you like one over the other. I don't think you have to have both, but this is a fresher iteration of the very smoky, incensey, woody DNA that is Interlude, but this one is freshened out a bit with a really nice iris note. It's a little less heavy on the smokiness, but some of it is still there. I meant to mention some leatheriness as well, but yeah, it's basically that. It's just a freshened up version. Me personally, I like the original better. I didn't feel like I needed a fresher version of this, but I know a lot of people like this, but that's literally the only reason I put it in a 12th spot. This fragrance smells phenomenal in its own right. So once again, at the 12th spot from Amouage, this is Interlude Black Iris. All right, so coming in at the 11th spot, this is Boundless. Boundless at the 11th spot. If you know about this fragrance, this one's kind of centered around vanilla, if you will. You get a little bit of a kind of a sparkly, effervescent, kind of ginger-like spiciness off the top. There's also like a dark citrus kind of characteristic, which I believe there's blood orange in this. I always just call that dark citrus because it's has a citrus element, but it's just kind of got this dark attitude, not really bright. The vanilla that's in this is, I believe it's bourbon vanilla. It's not a really sugary vanilla, more of a natural smelling vanilla, almost like vanilla bean, if you will, a little bit kind of earthy as well. And then it's complemented with this kind of combination of woods and spices and resins to make up the base of the fragrance that's very synonymous with some other Amouage fragrances you might come across, but I really like how this one presents vanilla in a way that's not your typical just sugary, sweet, gourmand vanilla. You're not gonna get that from this. I do find this scent to be very interesting, very complex, but if I just had to kind of put it somewhere, I had to put it at the 11th spot just because compared to what else I have, I find those scents to be more interesting than this one. But this is really good stuff. I think a little bit underrated from the house, but this one never really kind of picked up a lot of steam in terms of popularity, but it's an Amouage fragrance. The majority of them, in my opinion, are very good scents. This one is no different. So once again, at the 11th spot, this is Boundless. Okay, moving on to the 10th spot. This one is Portrayal Man. Portrayal Man at the 10th spot. This fragrance here, compared to the last one, much simpler. Basically what you're getting from this is going to be violet leaf, juniper, vetiver. That's basically the makeup of this fragrance. If you are a fan of Dior Fahrenheit, the violet leaf that is in that, it's quite similar in terms of just the violet leaf, not the other aspects of the fragrance. It's intensified. The juniper in this is very strong, very oily, almost vetiver, kind of earthy and woody, but clean. And yeah, that's basically the makeup of this scent. This one here is very particular. Most people probably wouldn't really go for this unless you just really are a fan of Violet Leaf first and Juniper second. This one really captivates me because I am a fan of those notes, but again, very simplistic fragrance in that right. And I kind of find that this one doesn't really have a lot of uses outside of work. I kind of really like to wear it for work. I wouldn't really wear it for too many other things. It can be worn for those things, but that's just kind of what I reach for it. But anyway, yeah, I just put it at the 10th spot, so it is what it is. Once again, this is Portrayal Man. All right, at the 9th spot, this is Enclave. Enclave coming in at the 9th spot. If I'm not mistaken, this is actually my latest Amouage edition. I might be wrong about that. You know what, it doesn't matter. But this one here is gonna be a spearmint fragrance. First and foremost, many people do think it smells like toothpaste. I can understand that, but I don't really agree, mainly because I guess I don't use toothpaste that smells like this. But anyway, yeah, spearmint, a little bit peppery, kind of vegetal overall, but it's also quite ambery. It kind of has this fuzzy warmth to it, almost like a cashmere feel. Not necessarily a smell, but a feel to it. It's a little bit vanillic, a little bit ambery, and yeah, fuzzy and spearmint, but a little bit smoky as well. Kind of an incense, resinous kind of feel to it. Very interesting fragrance. This one wears really well for me here in the Florida humidity and heat. It's got a refreshing nature to it, but also carrying some weight to it. I really like the stuff. I just kind of put it at the 9th spot just because I had to put it somewhere. I understand that a lot of people can't get past that, you know, spearmint smell that this fragrance has, but I think this is really good quality stuff here. Again, this is this one and Boundless are kind of part of the newer generation of Amouages that came out, I guess, late 2020 or something like that. They kind of started around that range, and those fragrances haven't really hit it off like a lot of the older ones have, but these fragrances definitely still have their place and definitely still have that Amouage DNA. Once again, at the 9th spot, this is Enclave. All right, coming in at the 8th spot, this is gonna be Reflection Man. Reflection Man coming in at the 8th spot. Now, I know for many people, this is probably their top 3, if not their #1 Amouage, and I get it. And I don't think the fragrance is necessarily overrated. I just know for me, I like this stuff. It is a white floral fragrance with a little bit of a aromatic kind of spicy nature to it. It's warm, a little bit sweet. It does have a nice woody base. I think there's some sandalwood, kind of creamy as well. Perfect office fragrance. I mean, literally smells like a CEO's fragrance in my opinion. Many people share that same sentiment. But for me, just with the other stuff that Amouage has to offer, I just simply like those DNAs better. This one, I do give it credit though, kind of stands on its own. If there's other white floral fragrances like this from Amouage, I haven't gotten my nose on them. Obviously, there's plenty of Amouage fragrances that are maybe not as easy to find, discontinued, older ones. Amouage has been around for a long time. They have an extensive catalog of stuff. So this one here, at least based off of everything I've got in my collection at this point, does kind of stand out. Doesn't really have any real relation to any other scent, so I do give it credit for that. But just the style of the fragrance, I like other styles a little bit more than stuff like this. So that's the only reason it kind of makes the 8th spot. I'm not trying to say it's overhyped or anything like that. So once again, this is Reflection Man. All right, so coming in at the 7th ranked spot, it's Jubilation 25. Jubilation 25 in the 7th spot. Now I can't say this. The only reason this is down here in the 7th spot is because I have Jubilation 40. I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, this one is the, I don't know if they had any other 25th anniversary, you know, fragrance releases, but as far as I know, that's what this is. And hence that's what Jubilation 40 is, the 40th anniversary for the house. This is a combination of smoky notes, incense, dried and elegant woods, very nicely balanced between the two. Just a hint of sweetness in there, a little bit of resins, a little bit of a fruitiness in kind of a blackberry form, which is pretty unique in fragrances. Great stuff. I personally, you know, this is one of my favorites from the house, even though I have it kind of ranked kind of low, just because I think this is one of the fragrances from Amouages that really captures the essence of what Amouage is all about, in my opinion. I think this is a scent that, you know, at least for me personally, I can wear for anything. I think it, even though it's super complex and very oriental based off of, you know, westernized style fragrances, I think you can wear this for anything. I have, you know, and I've had no problems with it. Once again, at the 7th spot, this is Jubilation 25. All right, coming in at the 6th spot, this is Journeyman. Journeyman coming in at the 6th spot. Now, this is, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is my second Amouage and one of my earliest fragrance additions within my entire collection. And at one point, I would have had this probably ranked top 3. It's just kind of fallen down a little bit. No other reason other than I just am more intrigued by some of the other fragrances I have. But this is a tobacco fragrance featuring a lot of spice, kind of peppery in nature. Can't remember what the listed spices were, but yeah, that's what it is. It's a spicy tobacco fragrance that has a little bit of a smokiness to it. The spice, very oriental in nature, whatever that, you know, means to you. And also has, I think it has some ambroxan. It has a warmth to it, a little bit of tonka bean to kind of sweeten it out. When I first got this, I couldn't really even smell the tonka bean. It wasn't sweet at all. It didn't have anything balancing out that spiciness, but now that it is macerated, it definitely has a balance between the spice and the sweetness, and just really nice tobacco with a slight edge to it. I really do enjoy this stuff. This is a great autumn time fragrance. Whenever you're ready to bring out those spices and that tobacco, this is a good one that will give you that. And frankly, I think this is an underrated one in my opinion from the house of Amouage, but that might just be because it's been out for a while. Maybe it got its praises back in the day. So once again, at the 6th spot, we have got Journeyman. All right, moving on to the 5th spot, we have got Lyric Man. Lyric Man coming in at the 5th spot. So this one here is Rose, and a lovely rose scent indeed. I find the rose to be slightly green and very, very jammy. In my opinion, this is one of those fragrances that is kind of like the men's version of a Delina, if you will. You also got really nice lime-like citrus in this. You got some nice sweet like vanillic and musky accords in here as well. There's also a very green edge coming in the way of like a pine accord, and you got like some incense and resins in here as well. Definitely a kind of an incensey rose fragrance. That's kind of the best way to describe it. I absolutely love wearing this stuff. Wears so well on my skin. I mean, this is, would I call this nuclear? I don't know if I'd call it nuclear, but very long lasting on my skin. If it gets in your clothes, it is in there. Really great rose fragrance. I will say, if you're new to rose, maybe ease your way into this one. It's a powerful rose fragrance. Could even be a little bit overwhelming in my opinion, but this is great stuff here. And I had this, what, at the 5th spot? Yep, so at the 5th spot, this is Lyric Man. All right, moving on to the 4th spot. This is gonna be King Blue. King Blue coming in at the 4th spot. Now this one here, man, so this is gonna be, as I'm looking at it, this is gonna be the strongest oud-based fragrance that I have here. There are many other offerings that I've featured on this list that do have oud, but they don't necessarily like stick out at you like this one does. Uses Assam oud, which as far as I know is Indian oud. It's kind of hay-like. Does also make use of really nice, like warm woodiness, if you will. Really nice sandalwood and patchouli combination. Slight ambery notes, a little bit of leather as well. Slight touch of spice in there. It's almost like a blue version of an oud fragrance where the oud is not westernized and is not lightweight. It is still a fragrance where, you know, it's gonna throw some people off because of how that oud comes across in here, especially when you first spray it on. But it gets very well settled and very pleasant on the dry down. And I really do enjoy wearing this one in the warm weather, because that's the only time I've ever worn it so far. I really want to see what it does when it cools off, but this is an excellent oud fragrance in my opinion. Once again, in the 4th spot, this is King Blue. All right, moving on to the top 3. In the 3rd spot, this is Beach Hut Man. Beach Hut Man coming in at the 3rd spot. So this one here is the most fougere-like fragrance that I have from Amouage in my opinion. Makes heavy use of mint and kind of smoky resins, if you will. It's very, very green. It is kind of rough around the edges. It's kind of sharp, kind of like a hair on your chest kind of feel to the scent. It's very, very powerful. And man, I love this stuff. Features some resins, some dried woods, probably some vetiver as well. And again, for me, it almost has a fougere-like attitude, even though it doesn't have those traditional fougere notes, although I do think there is some oak moss in this as well. This is one of those ones that could be like a signature scent for me from the house, and I would wear year round. Is a little bit more appropriate for like spring, or even now, early fall, or even late fall, really. Can be a little bit much in the summertime. So, you know, the name might imply that it's a great summertime fragrance. Not quite. It is quite literal with the name. It's meant to kind of represent a beach hut, not necessarily the beach itself. But this is wonderful stuff. I know it has become a little bit hard to get. I don't know if that has changed recently, but it is a powerful, strong scent. If you're not familiar with it, definitely get your nose on it first. Do not blind buy this. It can be a bit much. Once again, in the third spot, this is Beach Hut Man. All right, in the second spot, this is Jubilation 40. Jubilation 40 in the second spot. Now, I mentioned how Jubilation 25 probably would have been higher ranked if I didn't have this one. Now, here's the deal. This one here is not all that much different in terms of the scent DNA of Jubilation 25. They just kind of made some changes and the oil concentration is higher, so the wearing experience is a little bit different. I feel like the fruitiness of the Jubilation 25 DNA is ramped up quite a bit, and I think the woodiness is ramped up. I really can pick up the oud and rich, elegant woods like that much better in this scent than I can in Jubilation 25. I think the smokiness and the incensey notes and all of that stuff, the resins, I think that's all kind of the same. It's just the overall scent is a little bit beefier just because the oil concentration is higher. But don't think of this as, being kind of a more vivid picture of the Jubilation 25 DNA. Just because the oil concentration is higher doesn't necessarily mean it is stronger. Matter of fact, projection on this is, I don't want to say weak, it's just, that's just not how it behaves. It's more of a sillage monster because the oil concentration is higher. It kind of sits a little bit closer to the skin. I don't want to give people false hopes on this fragrance. It's expensive enough as it is, even if you get it discounted. But I know sometimes that's what people think when the oil concentration is ramped up. It's going to be this super beast mode scent. That's not quite what this is, just FYI. But the smell of this is to die for, in my opinion. So once again, coming in at the second spot, this is Jubilation 40. All right, and coming in at the number one spot for my top 12 Amouage fragrances, it is Interlude Man. Interlude Man, my number one Amouage. Now, I struggled with what I wanted to put in my number one, but the fact of the matter is this is my first Amouage, if my memory serves me correctly. It's either my first or my second. It was a blind buy. You know, I had heard about Interlude Man, heard everything about it, and luckily for me, the blind buy turned out to be successful. It's a scent DNA that I love. It is a incensey, resinous, smoky, leathery fragrance with some woodiness as well. Does kind of have this interesting sweetness to it, but it's not really vanillic or even like tonka bean or really anything like that. It's just kind of all the resins and incensey notes coming together. Known to have this infamous oregano accord in the opening that does not bother me, but some people cannot stand it. Some people have even likened it to being something you would put on food, which I find hilarious. But yeah, this is a tough fragrance DNA for anybody to like. Not everyone's gonna jive with stuff like this, but I certainly love it. Nicknamed the Blue Beast for being a long-lasting, powerful fragrance DNA, and it is those things from at least my experience. But yeah, there's just a special love I have for this scent, and every time I smell it, you know, I still get that excitement in my brain from the first time that I ever got my nose on this fragrance. So for that reason alone, it just being kind of the big introduction for me into the House of Amouage, I still have to hold it as my best Amouage fragrance. So at the number one spot, this is Interlude Man. Alright guys, so that was my ranking for my 12 Amouage fragrances. There are plenty of Amouage fragrances I would still love to add to my collection. There's probably some notable ones you noticed I did not have. For a variety of reasons is why I don't have them, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm pretty sure many of you guys do have some Amouage fragrances yourself and probably have some favorites. So hey, let me know what your favorite Amouage fragrances are down in the comments below. Would love to see what you guys have to say and how you rank them a little bit differently from me. Thanks again for watching all the way into the end. I really do appreciate you guys. Please remember to be well and smell well. And I'll see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.